Hello, I'm Ross Merriam, and welcome to another episode of Flashback here on StarCityGames.com. Come join me as I take a stroll down memory lane, looking at some of the more memorable moments in my Magic career and the stories behind them. So let's get to it. Oh wow, this one is quite a while back, pre-beard, almost unrecognizable, and this would be Grand Prix Providence in May of 2011. So this is the Mental Misstep Legacy Grand Prix, the first major tournament where that card was legal, and it was also the first time that I played Legacy Elves, a deck that I moved away from for a while, but then obviously have become very well known for. This is one of the few tournaments where going through the event, I felt like my deck was just on a different level from most of my opponents, and I just had so many easy matchups over and over again. But, you know, Magic tournaments are hard. You can't lose too many times, and I lost just enough to not make it into the top 8, and the deck became a lot more obscure as a result. But it was my first big finish at a Grand Prix, my first time being close to the top 8, and it did re-qualify me for the Pro Tour after my first Pro Tour earlier that year. So this is a pretty big milestone, and one of the first milestones in my career after coming back to Magic after graduating from college. So this is sort of where it started for me, even though nobody knew who I was. So this was June of 2012, about a year later, at the SCG Invitational in Indianapolis. And I ended up playing Blue-White Delver in Standard, which I'd been playing for several months. I'd been playing it, but I had sort of lost a little faith in it, but was convinced to keep playing it at the Invitational. Went 0-4 with Blue-White Delver. Was sort of beside myself, didn't really know what to think, because I just crashed and burned with a deck that I knew was very good and that I thought I was very good at playing. And spent about 5 hours the day before this tournament just playtesting the mirror, saying, I hate this control sideboard plan, I'm going to go back to playing aggressive. Played the Open the next day, and got my first Open win. This was a big deal for me because it showed that I could rely on what I thought was good, as opposed to just borrowing what the good players around me told me to do. So a really big stepping stone, not just because it was my first Open win, but because I won it playing my deck the way I wanted to play it. Funny story about the trophy pose. I had sort of been thinking going into the top 8 what I would do if I had won, and as many of you know from my player slide, I'm a big tennis fan. And the first player I was a big fan of was Pete Sampras. And if you know anything about Sampras, he used to kiss the trophy every time he won a Grand Slam. So I was mimicking Pete there, but I failed to realize that a couple weeks earlier, Christian Calcano had won a Grand Prix with Blue-Red Delver and had done the same thing, so it looked like I was copycatting. So not a great look for me, but you know, I won the trophy, so I didn't really care. Okay, we're getting to this one early. This would be SCG LA in, I believe, September of 2012. And obviously well known now for the P-Sully match. What most people don't remember was that I actually lost the finals of the Standard Open. And back then, when it was 2 one-day Opens, you played the semis and the finals of the Standard Open the morning of, and then played the Legacy Open after that. So I had played something like 22 rounds of Magic before the P-Sully match started, and I was exhausted. So in that defining moment of the game, when Patrick passes the turn, and I have to decide whether or not to kill the Sulfuric Vortex, I knew that I knew his entire deck list. I think to this day I could recite his deck list to you. It was pretty simple. And I sat there and said, okay, we've got some time. Let's think through every single card. And as I was doing that, my brain was just telling me, no, we're done. I can't do this anymore. We've played enough Magic. So I just sort of said, screw it and kill this thing. What could go wrong?
He's going to pass back.
Oh my god, if he taps out to... Oh! Wow! Patrick
Flamer Fire.
Oh my god! Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That is how you play a red deck.
Oh my god.
And that's the match.
Turns out everything could go wrong. So, you know, props to Patrick for playing the games very well. I think the entire match is pretty well played if you watch it. Now it gets overshadowed by that last game. He put himself in a position that he could win in a game where I don't think many people would, and he got rewarded. But the aura that's been built up about this match and about him sort of Jedi mind tricking me in some way, I think is overblown. I think it's just a really well played match. He played to his outs and he got there. So, you know, props to Patrick. He deserves the win. And, you know, I got to learn a little something. So are we ever going to get back to a match that I won, or are we just going to keep going through all of the worst moments in my Magic career? Is that what I'm here for? Because if this is just a character assassination, I can leave right now. Okay, so SCG Providence in June of 2014. This is your Legacy Open champion, Dave Shields. One of the, I think the biggest match that I've ever lost, and to me, bigger than the PCLE match, even though that one gets a lot more press, because I was going for the back-to-back and tying Jerry and all of those implications.
There's Stoneforge. Dave gonna go searching for the next piece of equipment, Sword of Fire Knights. That'll mow down creatures just fine as well.
Yep.
And that is gonna do it. David Shields wins this match over Ross Merriam. 2-1, stopping the streak, and Jerry T, he is safe.
This is another weekend where I got paid off for doing things my way. I won the Standard Open with Mono Blue Devotion, a deck that had fallen off the radar over the previous 3 months, but I thought was pretty well positioned. One of those weekends where it just felt like I really couldn't lose. I think I lost one match before this final against Dave in Standard, something like 24 matches over the course of the weekend, 23. And this was, I think, the weekend that really put me on the map. It was that week that I got my first shot at an article here at StarCityGames.com, which ended up getting me a job offer a month later, and I've been writing here ever since. And so this tournament, even though it ended with that really close loss, was still a very, dare I say, the biggest weekend in my career, given how it led to, you know, my job and what I do now. I don't do the temple massage much these days, and maybe I should, because it's good when you're really trying to focus.
And Ross passes the turn, and this is gonna be it. Sensei's Divine Top tapped. It's gonna be Entreat the Angels, and there you have it. 2-0. Reed Duke, the winner over Ross Merriam, evens it up in the pod. Both players at 1-1.
Things were going well early in this game. I was looping Wirewood Symbiote and an Elvish Visionary, the unbeatable buddies, and drawing a bunch of cards, applying a little bit of pressure, and I made a slight mistake in not leaving enough creatures on the battlefield to pressure a Jace, and gave Reed a window to land a Jace, which he did. I attack it to 1, and Reed untaps, plays a sweeper, and then I have to figure out what to do on my next turn with no board and Reed at 14 life. And I end up finding this line where I cycle through a ton of creatures with Elvish Visionary, use Heritage Druid to get a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, and then Natural Order for a hoof. But the hoof ends up only being a 13/13 because I have 8 creatures on the battlefield. So I put Reed to exactly 1, and from there I had enough ways to return creatures to my hand that a sweeper would still leave me with a ton of creatures in my hand. At the time, I felt like I'd played as well as I could and just came up a little bit short. I felt like I'd gotten a little bit unlucky. And actually, when I went back and watched the match, if I saw my hand correctly, and it's difficult on coverage, I'm pretty sure there was a line I could have taken where I could have cast 2 Natural Orders and just killed him. And so I felt bad that I missed it and I missequenced my elves, because that's something I prided myself on, was the technical aspect of the deck. But, you know, in a tough spot when I'm doing a ton of different things in a really difficult turn, I ended up playing at probably 95%, and it cost me, because when you play against Reed Duke, you kind of have to play at 100%. Ooh, non-magic related things, but still a dagger, so thank you. I spent many years trying to be a contestant on the show. I ended up getting an in-person audition when I was in college for the college tournament. My freshman roommate actually made the college tournament, finished 3rd, and so that sort of inspired me. And I kept trying after that, and when I got another audition, it ended up being right around the time of a Pro Tour, I think Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar, and I told the team I was going to be a day or two late because I needed to do my Jeopardy audition. They were all cool with it. Went up to Boston, stayed with Ari. We got some testing in. I did my audition, and surprisingly, Magic helped a lot. So I listed my occupation as professional Magic the Gathering player / writer. All the audition crew or audition staff looked down and said, "We've never had this before." And right then I knew that was going to really help me stand out. Ended up getting my shot on the show. Unfortunately, things didn't go so well. Ran into Pranjal Vashaspati, who was an excellent champion and certainly thrashed me real good. To beat Pranjal, I would have needed a really favorable board, and that didn't come up, but still awesome experience. Got to hang with Trebek during the closing credit scene, and when the camera pans out, if you watch the show, it was basically just a conversation between me and Alex about Magic, so that was cool. Just the entire thing was pretty awesome. Got to go out to LA. P. Sully came down and watched me, along with a friend of mine, Katie, from college. So had a little bit of a cheering section, hung out in LA for a few days, and had a good time. So still great. I really like that tie too. My tie, not Alex's. His is fine, but my tie's great. And Team BCW. I think we're probably getting near the end now. So we are affectionately dubbed Team Get Tannen a Trophy. I think I've redubbed us as Team Get Tannen Agonizingly Close to a Trophy, now that we've lost 2 finals that were both very close affairs.
He plays the plains and passes the turn back, so he's got to have something here.
Something that costs 3 that he can put in a playoff of Vial.
That is going to do it. David Thomas, Brian Basocco, and Jonathan Job are going to win this game and match over Tannen Grace, Ross Merriam, and Brendan DeCandio. Jonathan Job, Brian Basocco, they are the first 2-time Team Constructed champions here on the SCG Tour.
You know, you feel like you let them down, and Tannen and Brennan, I could not have asked for better teammates in that moment and in the months since then, because you know, when you let your teammates down, you feel really awful. I sort of laugh about it now, but at the time, this is up there in one of the lowest moments that I've had. I've had some bad matches, and I cannot say enough about how great they were to me that night and in the months that have followed. Just the best teammates I could ask for. Ooh, Utah Jazz. Been a big Utah Jazz fan since the late 90s. I think many of you might be able to assume that I was a contrarian as a child. And so when I got into sports in the late 90s, I decided to always root for the team that was playing against the team that everyone else was rooting for. So I became a Red Sox fan because everyone around me rooted for the Yankees, and I became a Jazz fan because they were playing against the Bulls at the time. And for some reason, I stayed loyal the entire time, and I'm kind of really glad I did, because they're a super well-run organization. I think that one of the things I like about following sports is the general manager side of things and how they put together a team. And you know, some teams are really frustrating to follow because their GMs are horrible and just make a ton of boneheaded moves. But the Jazz are rock solid. The team is super exciting. They've been through a rebuild for a few years, and now they're really good. Rudy Gobert is a top 10 player in the NBA. Don't at me. Donovan Mitchell is the next coming of Dwayne Wade. Ricky Rubio is great. Jay Crowder is great. This team is just awesome. They're super fun to watch. And we have a great coach, Quinn Snyder. When I made the decision to go vegetarian, I gave myself the one cheat in my head that the next time I'm on the West Coast, I can get some In-N-Out. I'm not sure if I'll go through with it, but I might. And I did tell that to myself. I needed to have In-N-Out one last time because it is great. Anyone who thinks Shake Shack is better is out of your mind. It's just not remotely close. Also, In-N-Out takes a lot of flack for their fries. For some reason, people don't like them. They're actually great. You can literally look into the kitchen, see them take a potato and slice it and make fries out of it. What else do you want? You just don't want you don't want fries that taste like potatoes. It just makes no sense to me. In-N-Out is great. It's just the best. It's far and away the best fast food restaurant. It's not remotely close. And it's better than Shake Shack. It's better than Five Guys. I haven't had the one that the people in Texas talk about, Whataburger. I don't know if Whataburger is better. I'll never know because I'm never going to eat Whataburger. I enjoy being vegetarian. But it's very difficult for me to imagine it being better than In-N-Out. because In-N-Out is incredible. See, it's so simple. Here's what you need to know. Anytime a restaurant has a very stripped down, simple menu, you know it's going to be good because they know what they're good at and they do that thing. In-N-Out knows what they're good at. They make burgers, they make fries, they make milkshakes. That's what you get. Order those things. They're delicious. It is part of the reason that I try to go to the West Coast as often as I do. It'll be less so now, but it has been. It actually angers me that people try to argue that Shake Shack is better. It's unbelievable. What is wrong with you? Were you born without taste buds? Shake Shack is the epitome of mediocre. Of all of the Ross Hunneds photos that you could have used, this is both my favorite and my least favorite. Because one of the keys to a good Ross Hunneds photo is that I not be aware that it's being taken, and this was staged. I was very aware that this was happening. Back in that time, it was still the era of one-day opens. You would get paid in cash if you made top 64 or top 32, 50 bucks or 100. You lined up, they handed you your crisp bill, you walked away. And I did not do well in the Legacy Open in Portland. And I was walking up to Nathan Holiday and Sam Party to see what our plans for dinner would be that night. They had just gotten their $100 bills. And for no real reason at all, Sam or Nathan, I can't remember which one, I think Sam, takes his $100 bill, puts it up to me in the frame as I'm walking, and just snaps a photo. And then he and Nathan stand there for 5 minutes ignoring me, discussing what the hashtag is going to be on this photo. And they came up with Ross Hunneds. So because we're all together for that week, and everyone laughed over it the first time, they spent the week taking a bunch more Ross Hunneds photos. And a lot of them, I had no idea they were happening. We were getting groceries for the week. I'm down at the other end of the aisle, and Chris Cawthron takes one. So we had a lot of fun with it that week. Just one of those things that happens on magic trips, like inside jokes. And this one ended up getting blasted on social media and became a trend for probably a few months, has since died down, but gives me the name of my Twitter handle at Ross Hunneds. So I am forever in their debt. And they probably should have given me those $100 bills, but I don't think they did. So. Okay, I guess that's going to be it for this episode of Flashback. I hope you all enjoyed listening to these stories as much as I enjoyed telling them, because listening to the sound of my own voice is basically my favorite thing in the world. So I'm Ross Merriam here on StarCityGames.com, and I will see you all at the next SCG Open. Bye.